Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. If you're looking at James Marcia's identity statuses right now and thinking, wow, that is a lot of terminology, well, take a deep breath. I'm here as your academic mentor today, and consider this your personal supportive study session. We're going to turn this theoretical framework into something you can easily visualize, remember, and actually apply, so you're fully prepped for your exam.
We've got a solid game plan today. We'll start with a model overview, hit the core variables, dive into low and high exploration, tackle that flowchart, and wrap up with a final review. Let's get right to it.
All right, Section 1, Marcia's Identity Model Overview.
Okay, so take a look at our master study guide. It's a full visual map of how identity statuses and crisis resolution actually work in Marcia's model. Now, I know there's a ton of info here, right? You've got your traditional and diffusion categories up top, that brightly colored 2x2 matrix in the middle, and then that cascading flowchart all the way at the bottom. Seriously, do not let it intimidate you. We're going to slice this up piece by piece until you can literally draw it from memory.
Moving on to Section 2, the two core variables.
Okay, so the whole shebang, everything in that main 2x2 matrix hinges on just two things: commitment and exploration. Is a person highly committed to an identity, or is their commitment low? Have they engaged in a ton of exploration to find that identity, or did they barely look around? It's kind of like choosing a college major, right? Exploration is actively taking a bunch of different classes to see what clicks. Commitment is finally declaring that major and, actually sticking to it.
Let's do a quick knowledge check to keep our brains fired up. Remember, the specific intersection of these concepts is what gives us our answers. So, what are those two primary variables? Go ahead, say them out loud if you can. Yep, you got it. Exploration and commitment. See, you've already got the foundation down.
Let's slide into Section 3, Low Exploration Statuses Explained.
Now, looking at the left side of this pairing, we have identity foreclosure. This one features high commitment but low exploration. On the right, we've got identity diffusion, which is basically lacking in both commitment and exploration entirely. But what does that actually look like in the real world? So, the diffusion status, that gray box up there, is characterized by being confused and passive. Imagine a freshman who hasn't declared a major, hasn't even glanced at a course catalog, and honestly, they just don't really care yet. They aren't exploring, and they certainly aren't committing. They're just kind of passively drifting through the semester. That right there is textbook identity diffusion. On the flip side, we have that green box labeled traditional, which aligns perfectly with foreclosure. This state is, well, traditional and identity stable. The key takeaway here is that they have committed, but they did it without exploring at all. A real-life example? Think of a student who decides to major in pre-med simply because, their parents and grandparents are doctors. They never questioned it. They never took an art class or tried engineering. They just accepted that traditional path laid out for them. High commitment, zero exploration.
Time for another practice question to really lock this in. If you picture that gray quadrant on the top right of our matrix, you'll definitely know the answer to this. A student who isn't searching for a path and hasn't committed to one is in what status? Exactly, identity diffusion. Awesome job.
All right, Section 4, High Exploration Statuses Explained.
Here we're comparing the orange quadrant, identity achievement, where both variables are high, against the blue quadrant, identity moratorium, where exploration is high but commitment is still low. These are the much more active phases of crisis resolution.
Let's look at the blue moratorium section. This represents a super active, seeking state. So what does this look like on campus? This is the student who's taking 5 totally different electives. Everything from poetry to computer science. They're joining 3 different clubs, setting up informational interviews, the whole 9 yards. They are highly active, constantly exploring, but they still have low commitment because they just haven't picked a lane yet. They are squarely in a state of moratorium. And above that blue box, we have the yellow-orange productive section, aligning with identity achievement. This brilliantly illustrates the ultimate goal: a state of strong identity and productive engagement. This is the student who did all that active seeking, weighed all their options, and finally said, yes, I am committing to marine biology because I've thoroughly explored it and I absolutely love it. They've got high exploration and high commitment. They have officially achieved their identity.
Let's test your recall on that one. Think back to that blue quadrant we just talked about. You're trying everything under the sun, but you haven't signed on to the dotted line for any of it. High exploration but low commitment drops us right into which status? Spot on, identity moratorium.
Moving right along to Section 5, Mapping the Identity Flowchart.
So this table breaks down the core combinations listed in that bottom flow we saw earlier. It beautifully summarizes the standard variable pairings for the main statuses we just learned. Achievement is high and high. Moratorium is low commitment, high exploration. Diffusion is low and low. Simple enough, right?
Now here's a really interesting quirk I want to flag for your exam, a unique variation in the source model. If you look at the second block in that bottom flow, identity exploration is explicitly paired with high commitment and low exploration. Normally, we'd call that exact pairing foreclosure. But this specific chart notes an exploration phase with these exact metrics. It's a really great nuance to just keep in your back pocket.
And let's look at another fascinating quirk while we're at it. Keep your eyes peeled for identity foreclosure in that flowchart. It actually repeats multiple times. As the chart flows downward, it shifts from just high commitment to high commitment and low exploration, and then, surprisingly, it lists foreclosure with high commitment and high exploration right near the bottom. What does this tell us? It suggests that the journey through these statuses isn't always a perfect straight line. People can cycle back, or even hold conflicting states as they work to resolve their identity crisis.
Almost at the finish line. Section 6, Final Study Session Review. To absolutely nail this on your test, just follow these 3 simple steps whenever you get a scenario question. Step 1, check the exploration level. Are they actively seeking out options? Step 2, check the commitment level. Have they made a firm, solid choice? And step 3, just pinpoint where those 2 answers intersect on the quadrant. Boom, you've got your answer.
Keep this core visual firmly anchored in your mind. The green foreclosure box, the gray diffusion box, the orange achievement box, and the blue moratorium box. This colorful 2x2 square is literally your ultimate cheat sheet for Marcia's crisis resolution model. Seriously, if you can just draw this matrix on a piece of scratch paper the second your exam starts, I guarantee you will ace every single question on this topic.
I'll leave you with this final, kind of provocative thought to ponder as you hit the books tonight. Based on the rigid variables we just learned about, which of these 4 states do you think is the absolute most difficult to escape? Is it the passive confusion of diffusion, or maybe the stubborn tradition of foreclosure? I mean, think about how incredibly hard it is to start exploring when you've already committed blindly. Keep that in mind, keep studying, and you are going to do great. Thanks so much for joining this explainer.